Hello and welcome to today's video. Today we will be talking about my thesis management, which I'm using Notion for. You can use anything that you like. We will go over other apps for management resources and for managing your thesis writing. I will show you Obsidian as well as Google environment probably. But now we will look into the Notion and how I am utilizing Notion as a database system tool for managing mostly my sources and my thoughts in the thesis. So this template, it's mostly for your first part of writing when you are gathering resources, and reading the papers and making notes, and then for planning. You will write here, you will write or you can. It's maybe kind of possible, but I'm writing in Google Docs and editing is also happening in Google Docs. I am doing revision with my supervisor as well as in the Google Docs, I'm utilizing the comments section or like the comment feature. That, for example, here I have a to do list, and here you have a to do list board, but I am not writing into this to do list that I need to revise specific chapter, rewrite it, cite it, or look for another resource. I'm using it inside the document. So the writing, edition, and revision is happening all in Google Doc. Here is really more the database management. So how to use this template? It's very simple. You will write your specific main information. For example, for me, it's the length or the due date, the citation criteria, things like that, like something that you should not forget about. But the rest, what is important, you will create here. So all of the things that you will do, you will write here. This could be things like the topic you choose, or you can actually, if you would like to use the to-do list here, you can also write it there. Write chapter one. I use some basic list of things. So, for example, here the checklist for your dissertation. It's something that I was used probably, so that I will transfer there. That I have abstract, acknowledgements, title page, something like that. That's what I write it there, and also I write there the resources in the beginning because I need to know what my resources are and what I'm going to look into. And then the important things, I left it here in the important because some information that you will find along the way are important. They are not related to your thesis. They will be written in the thought in your thesis and the sources for the thesis. But here in the important then, it's more about your school wants some amount of copies, printed copies of your thesis. In my case, it's a thing. So I have there how much. Also, there is some specific things like formatting and styling, in which style you are writing. Could you use I or should you use we, or the subject or the person writing it should not be in place. So that's what the to-do list is and are. It's mostly if you are not using a to-do list in your thesis, if you are not using to-do list in the Notion or you are not using anywhere else, you can write it here and you can utilize the checklists that are already there, which is kind of nice. And then the main thing of this thesis is this huge. It doesn't look so huge, but this database management. So when you will create a new paper, you will name the paper, preferably by the name of the chapter that you are using or the chapter of the book, the website. You will open it, you will click the paper, and it will create for you the thoughts in the thesis. I will also show you how I am using it, and I think now it's a good time. So, and I will show you my that I'm not afraid of showing you. There are no Wikipedias here, so that's the reason. I decided to show my safe spaces and brave spaces because it's quite simple and quite few. So it's good to see through how it could be used for small things, and then we will look into the part when I was less charismatic to thought about the papers. So I have the name of the paper. Then you could have small about. I use it especially in the beginning when I didn't know what the papers were about. Now I know them a lot, so I in some time I'll stop do it. Then I have the citation, that is kind of important because I am using Cywheel as my citation management tool for the Google Doc, and I would like to have be sure that I have the right citation in place. So I created my own using some other citation tool, and I will cross check it in the end. I have link. If you do not have link, you can put your PDF here. Have notes again in the beginning. Then you have that you have it read, that you use it or not. If you and we will if you have used it, not maybe something like that. Then you have, if you have it in Cybele, for me, for the citation management tool. And then the fun part begins. When you will create it, there is name of the paper. And when you will first create the papers, you will not have the name of the paper here. So you need to create that. And it's fairly simple. You just copy it, place it here. It will show you that it's not here. So then you will go for the table properties for the name of the paper, and you will click add an option, and you will fill it in, and then you can do it like that. Unfortunately, it's not possible to do it this automatically, so you need to do it manually. So I selected my save basis for the name of the paper. You can use date if it's important for you to manage what you read when, and also to have your to use your research diary, which is for the thoughts in the paper. So you can use your research diary with your dates, and it's kind of nice to know what you read throughout and where you need to go back to read something again because you have more informations now. Then there is formula if it's used, and that's for this, not used and used. That's for this, the not used and used, because you can choose not to use what you found out because something what firstly sounded interesting doesn't mean that it needs to be in the work. So I when you have not used and used, you have everything used because you already read it and you already decided what to do. So for example, I decided not to use the definition of safe spaces, which looks like here this, because I decided that it's not definition, it's like how the safe space work in the past, and it's not important for my thesis. The second story that I will show you is that I use the PDF inside. So I have here the PDF, which I can access anytime, and it's kind of helpful to get back to because sometimes you something read but you are not sure. And as you can see, it's fairly different here in safe spaces. All of them have something inside that is signalizing by this node thing. But the chapter about accessibility, diversity, and inclusion in events, I do not have most things inside. It's just this. There is nothing more in here because didn't want it. It's that simple. You can use it as well in this time, so, but then you do not have the main thought. You don't have the main thought. For example, here you have the accessibility means that you will raise price of the events for all. But then you have being able to navigate an event space is the most conspicuous type of flexibility there is. Event must be comfortable, safe, and not threatening for attendance as a bare minimum. The name of it will be bare minimum accessibility. And there that would be the inside bare min accessibility. And then you can use it as the inside of it, but and it would be fairly simple. And if you will do use it like that, you know what you are looking for, which is much more easier because then you do not read everything. If I will decide that I do not want to write about how grades of the events are affected by accessibility and diversity and everything, I will not include this. That's so simple. So, and here, bare accessible, even for neurotopics. So there is bare accessibility and there is bare accessibility for neurotopics. So yeah, that's it, how I am using the papers. And you can use it too. It's fairly simple, how I showed you. You just create a paper, you fill out the information, and then you will write a thought. Because we already put there the paper name is automatically created, and then the rest you need to fill out. But what is the fun thing is that then you can look into your thoughts in thesis, and after you read everything, you know that you should work on this because the formula is empty, and the formula is this formula, the same formula that we used here, the used formula. So if you will create used, it's not longer there because the formula is empty and you use the paper. So you know that you should work on these thoughts. You used all of these thoughts or decided not to use them, and you don't know how much is left because that's fairly important to know. And in a percentage, I actually know that I have there like 5% left or something like that. And after you will write all of the thesis, of the thoughts of all of the papers, you will look into the part of the paper category. There you can add where you will write it. So, for example, in chapter one, in because we show safe space paper. So you have for option one, safe space. Then you have two, accessibility, and the paper one is safe space, as there is some another paper and it's in two, and you can descend it. Then you know in which order you should go through and where you should put the thoughts in your thesis in. And this is how I'm using my thesis management template. You can check it down below. It's fairly easy to use, and the thoughts to the sources really helped me out in the beginning because I gathered resources and I didn't know what to do next. But the thoughts in each paper, then creating the action plan, really helped me out with the other three, the writing, edition, and revision. We will look into these three parts in another video. But for now, have a nice day and bye bye.